but we set up hidden cameras just to make sure. So watch how honest this lady is right here. No, you'll steal stuff back there. Come here.
Ellen DeGeneres is one of the most acclaimed and fun daytime talk show hosts in the world right now. She's known for her comedy, her breadth of interesting segments, being really nice to her fans, and so on and so forth. But sometimes, her guests and audience members aren't as nice as they should be. Be sure to watch the whole video, you won't want to miss this.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And you'll get 25 years of amazing luck.
Audience member. The audience plays a big part on Ellen's show, as well as all talk shows in general. They are a key life to the whole thing, and sometimes they get rewarded for their loyalty to a talk show. And sometimes Ellen decides to see how many of them are truly good people and who aren't. How this happened is that she decided to do a giveaway. It wasn't a lot. She gave away a bunch of merch, shirts, cups, hats, those kinds of things. Stuff that is valuable in certain ways that can't be described unless you've been there. There was only one catch. Each audience member could only get one item, and they were told specifically to only get one item. Do I really have to explain that someone broke the rule? I don't think so, but we're gonna do it anyway because of how the person broke that rule. When the time came, Ellen sent the audience members in groups to go get their merch. But what the audience didn't know was that Ellen had wired the room with cameras, partly for giggles, but also to make sure that guests did follow the rule, or to see if any touching moments occurred. And lo and behold, one did when one woman wanted both a t-shirt and a hat, but couldn't because of the rule. So her friend offered to buy her the hat later on. A very nice thing, and Ellen was more than happy to just give the lady the hat with no charge, which shows the class of Ellen versus the class of the woman who was about to break all the rules. The audience member named Nancy entered the room and clearly didn't know that there was a camera watching her. Not only did she take more than one item, when her friend approached her about the items, she told her to shut up and not make a big deal out of it. Want to know who made a big deal out of it? Ellen, because when she found out what dear Nancy did, she wasn't amused, not one bit. When Nancy tried to defend herself, Ellen shot her down hard. This was one time when Ellen wasn't being funny, she was being very serious, and she even sent Nancy to Ellen jail for her crimes. That's right, Ellen put a fan in jail, kind of. Look, this was a bad move by the audience member, and they should have known better, and that's undisputed. Jessica Simpson. Jessica Simpson was at one time one of the top female singers in hip-hop, and her marriage with 98 Degrees frontman Nick Lacey was so big that it got them their own very popular TV series. But that didn't last, and she later continued with music and fashion, which suited her better. But in May 2017, things didn't go so well on The Ellen Show, and by not well, we mean that this interview went weird and stayed that way, and we still don't know what just happened. You know that something is very wrong when the person who is getting interviewed cannot put sentences together. Jessica seemed very out of breath and was even slurring her words like she was drunk or something. And when answering questions, like if she was pregnant or not, she didn't give exactly coherent responses. What's worse, she went off on conversations that were awkward in nature or just plain weird to talk about on daytime TV, like topics of conversation that I don't even really feel comfortable talking about here because it's just too weird. It got so bad that Ellen couldn't even keep a straight face. She laughed continuously at Simpson's topics and answers and had to look at the camera several times to let the audience know that she had no idea what was going on. And when Ellen poked fun at Simpson, she didn't seem to notice. Like when Ellen noted, "You somehow have a billion-dollar fashion empire," which Jessica laughed off and said, "It can happen to anybody." No, not really. That's the point. You had a good life and you're running a massive empire, yet you're acting like an idiot. Eventually, Ellen had to pull the plug on the interview, not just to save face, but frankly, to save sanity. So what was her deal? Was she tipsy? Under the influence? Just not prepared for what was happening? Well, it took years, but we finally got an answer. Simpson admitted in an interview in 2020 that she was indeed very drunk when appearing on The Ellen Show. She had been going through a very rough period in her life and she was drinking as a result. Not only was she embarrassed about what happened, she admitted that she can't watch the interview because of how bad she was in it. Hopefully she learned her lesson about doing interviews in a terrible state, but only time will tell. Kanye West. What is there to say about Kanye West at this point that hasn't been said by many people over the last few years? He's an unstable guy, but he refuses to take care of his mental health, and because of that, he'll go off on random rants, tangents, and have explosive episodes, including in interviews with people asking very simple and basic questions. And yeah, it happened on Ellen once too. Specifically, it happened on May 2016 when he appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres Show. Like Kanye does, he went and pumped up the crowd and had everyone excited for his appearance. But then Ellen went and asked a very simple question to Kanye: "Do you regret any of your Twitter posts?" This question wasn't poignant because Kanye had started to unravel around this time mentally due to his bipolar disorder. To that end, he got got more and more erratic and would go off on Twitter sometimes for no apparent reason. So it made sense for this question to be asked. But what didn't make sense was what happened next, which to be honest is what Kanye West does, which is that he does not make any sense at all sometimes. He took this question and delivered an answer in terms of a 6-minute rant. Let me say that again. He answered this with a 6-minute rant, and it wasn't about his Twitter posts either. He talked about his career in music, fashion, his race, the media, and more, and he kept talking and talking and talking. He would talk to Ellen, talk to the camera, to the audience, and on and on and on. And Ellen, bless her heart for this, she just sat there and took it in for all 6 minutes of his rant, only smiling to the camera when it panned to her to show that she wasn't going to interrupt, which is more than I can say for other people who would have wanted to, continue on with a planned interview. And then some of his comments got dark, and it put even more stress on Ellen, who definitely wanted this to be over. Could you imagine being in the audience during the rant, wanting to laugh or leave or to ask what the heck was going on, but not getting the chance because of Kanye? Yeah, it was a lot. But again, this is what Kanye West does. Fast forward to 2018, and he went on a similar rant on Twitter after a phone conversation with rival Drake, but instead of 6 minutes, he went for 3 hours. 3 hours of non-stop tweets. Just like the Ellen interview, he went off the rails to talk about things that didn't have to do with Drake, but when he did talk about Drake, he claimed that the fan favorite rapper threatened him and his family, which definitely is not Drake's style. So hopefully Ellen won't have him back on the show, and if she does, she knows not to ask him questions that'll send him on rants like this. Then again, any question could technically send Kanye off on a rant. Am I right? This is Kanye after all. While his 2020 has been a little more quiet than we suspect, it only takes one thing to set off Kanye and make this whole thing happen again. Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams has made a career of throwing insults and shade, which has made her very popular. It's also made her enemies and given her a personal life that hasn't exactly been kosher, if you know what I mean. Regardless of that though, she was also at odds with Ellen DeGeneres because of her personality. As two of the top ladies of talk shows, they occasionally go onto each other's programs, including one time when Wendy went on to Ellen's show and things didn't go so well. Ellen asked her why she threw some shade on Kanye West and Kim Kardashian while they were expecting their first child. This was back in 2013, and Williams played it off, and then in support of Ellen, Williams applauded her veganism and her PETA support. But then she asked, how can you live without bacon? Do I need to explain why that wasn't a good question to ask? Ellen wasn't amused with the questions and went, well, because I think pigs are very smart animals. And when Williams came back a few years later, she made a joke that Ellen and Justin Bieber were said to look alike. Really? That's how you want to play it, Wendy? Sure, Ellen took it in stride, but she honestly shouldn't have had to. This is a case where people are clearly going to Ellen to pick a fight, and usually Ellen would be the first to pick up and spar too. That's how she is in real life, but on her show she tends to act kinder because of her audience. Wendy doesn't care about that though, so that makes her a bad guest and person in many ways. David Arquette. David Arquette is what you might call an acquired taste. He can be a good actor, but he can also be a big jerk, and the less we talk about his run as WCW champion, the better. When he got onto the Ellen show, the host did her best to be kind, but the crowd wasn't having it with him at all. Not because he was being mean to Ellen like other people on this list, but rather that he was behaving in a very concerning and erratic manner that left many in the audience in fear for his life. How so? Well, during a game of I Have Never, he seemed to be a little too honest at certain points, was giggling throughout the segment, and even noted at times that he may have gone too far with stuff and wanted certain answers cut out. To the eyes of the crowd, Arquette was under the influence, but of what wasn't clear. Yet that didn't make the interview any less concerning to watch, and though Ellen and fellow star Wanda Sykes was playing along with it, you could tell that they were wondering what exactly was going on here as well. Frankly, I don't know what was going on in his head, and I think I'm fine not knowing. Jennifer Lawrence. In terms of being on a talk show, there is an etiquette you should follow, and there are some lines you should know not to cross, especially if you think bad-mouthing gay people is a good idea. That goes double when the host is Ellen DeGeneres, a confirmed lesbian with a wife. You really should know the waters and what jokes not to crack, and yet Jennifer Lawrence not only didn't do that, she continued to make jokes that made Ellen very uncomfortable and angry. But some guests, like this one, and one we're about to mention, didn't get that memo, or just didn't care. This all started during the interview, where Lawrence made a joke about her own cat. Nothing wrong with that, right? Except that the joke was that she called her cat, which was a female, Chaz Bono, because of the cat's masculine energy. Chaz Bono is the son of legendary duo Sonny and Cher, and Chaz is transgender, which Ellen fully supports and doesn't like to hear insulted. Jennifer didn't stop after the joke was made though. She went into a rant of sorts about cats, cat genders, and other very odd things. Ellen was poised the whole time. Eventually, once Lawrence was done with her gender rant, Ellen did the only thing she could. She segued into facts about cats, making it obvious that she wasn't happy about what happened, but didn't want to explode on Lawrence, which Lawrence definitely noticed because she was shell-shocked by how quickly the conversation changed. To be clear, Lawrence was definitely in the wrong here, and there's no hiding that. Bless Ellen for not going off on her like she could have and arguably should have, because that wouldn't have solved anything, though it likely would have been an epic moment that the crowd would have enjoyed. The lesson here is one that has been repeated by many guests. Know what to talk about when you go on her show, else you'll be in trouble and find yourself in an awkward spot. Kim Burrell. If the name Kim Burrell does not not sound familiar to you, that's okay. She's a relatively low-tier gospel singer, as well as a preacher down in Texas. So why was she going to be on the Ellen Show in the first place? That would be because she had a hit song in I See a Victory, which was a key song in the movie Hidden Figures, and that was enough to get her onto Ellen's show. It should have been a big moment for her, and one that would have propelled her to the next level of her career. But she decided that mere days before going on the show, she did a sermon in Houston and felt that she should speak out about gay people, even calling it perverted that they exist and do what they do. Do I need to spell out how Ellen reacted to that? Oh, but before I get into that, the internet found out what she had done, and so Ellen's fans did a petition to try and get her off the show before her interview was even aired, and Ellen was more than happy to comply with that. What's more, she brought on Pharrell Williams, the singer who worked with Burrell on the soundtrack to Hidden Figures, to talk about her and go deeper into why she wasn't brought in for the interview. Pharrell himself noted that while Kim was a great singer, there was no excuse for what she did, and if that wasn't enough, when Burrell tried to backtrack and defend her comments, Ellen shut them down and noted that she wouldn't give her a platform to express her opinions on that subject that Ellen herself was a big part of and knew that Kim was going to bash. Since then, she's never mentioned Burrell, and that's not going to change. And if anyone dares to follow in her footsteps, they won't be getting brought onto the show either. And there you have it, a look at some guests that Ellen didn't take too kind to and put them off her show as a result. Do you think Ellen was in the right for the things she did? Do you think that there's going to be more guests like these that clash with Ellen? Who do you think they might be? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the channel.